All right, everybody, let's keep ourselves going here in serialism land. We've gotten ourselves a good introduction into exactly what a series is, but now we're going to go in a little deeper, and we're actually going to start to explore. You may be sort of having some pretty obvious questions here about, okay, so we've got this crazy thing called a series, but what do we actually do with it? We're going to start to see some of the ways that we can use this musical material to turn it into something musical. The thing that we have to keep in mind is, again, all of this goes in the framework of wanting to find a new musical expression. That's one of the critical aspects about everything associated with this style is wanting a new way to express something musically, not being satisfied with being restricted to the major and minor techniques that were completely dominant over all of the last many hundreds of years of music before these ideas came about. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ways that we can transform the row or transform the series to make some interesting new musical combinations. Because we said it's all about taking the series and letting that dictate the next steps in all of the piece and have all the material be really baked into the series. And one of the ways we do that is by transforming the series or transforming the row. And we actually end up with these four really critical ways that we can order the series. We take our series order and we can do it in these four orders. So the first we call prime, and then we get down into some of the more unusual ones. So we've got retrograde, inversion, and then, of course, because this is the most fun thing ever, we get retrograde inversion. So these are our four main, by main I mean only, these are our four orders: prime, retrograde, inversion, and they get these nice little abbreviations, PRI, and then RI for retrograde inversion. Let's unpack those a little bit, though. So, prime, this is really the main row. This is the main series, and it's the one that everything else is based upon. It tends to be either the very first thing that you hear in the piece, we just consider it the prime order, or sometimes we use the most prominent early statement of a musical idea. This would tend to be especially the case if it was like a piece for, let's say, piano and voice. The prime might not be the first thing we hear, but it is the most prominent thing. So, like, if the piano starts, and there's this little, like, piano intro, and then all of a sudden the voice comes, right? Thank you, by the way. I'm sure you're applauding right now. The voice entrance might be where we really would understand the prime series to be. But nonetheless, that'll become more obvious when we get into actually analyzing some music. So we've got prime, retrograde. Retrograde is just a fancy word for backwards, right? So the retrograde order is taking prime and just doing it, instead of starting on the first note, you start on the last note. Retrograde, doing prime backwards. Inversion, this is complicated in how to do it, but is not complicated in what it means. It's prime inverted. So we're starting to see how the prime order, the first or most prominent statement of the series, really impacts the other options that we get. So we could invert prime, and then for the fourth one, retrograde inversion, we take the inversion and just do it backwards. And again, I know that all seems very new and unique, but again, it's ways that we can get more musical material. We got four orders out of just one series, and we can be certain, because again, in serialism, the order is what really matters, that since these are all based on the same order of notes, all the same elements are present, though they may be hidden somewhat because they're either inverted or backwards or something, but they all come from the same origin. They all come from the same place, which is really interesting.